She let go of her daughter to save her future, what the girl said years later. We'll break you. Welcome back and enjoy the story. The scream of ambulance sirens pierced the quiet suburban neighborhood as neighbors peered through their curtains. At the center of this chaos stood Jenna, clutching prescription bottles with trembling hands, while paramedics stabilized her after a severe diabetic seizure. Her 8-year-old daughter Tara watched in horror from the doorway, still in her ballet outfit from the recital Jenna had missed that evening. This wasn't the first time Jenna's deteriorating health had created a crisis, but tonight, as social services arrived to evaluate the situation, she realized she might lose her daughter involuntarily if she didn't make an impossible choice. The paramedics worked methodically around Jenna's frail body, while Tara stood frozen, her small fingers clutching the doorframe as if it might anchor her family against the storm threatening to tear them apart. One of the emergency responders noticed the child and gently guided her to sit on the couch, away from the medical equipment and urgent voices. The ballet recital program slipped from Tara's hand, landing on the worn carpet. Pink tutu illustrations, and her name highlighted in the children's ensemble, now seeming like artifacts from another life. "Is my mommy going to die?" Tara whispered to the kind-faced paramedic, her voice barely audible above the medical jargon filling their modest living room. "No, sweetheart," the woman assured her, though the tight lines around her eyes betrayed concern. "Your mom is very sick, but we're taking good care of her." Jenna's eyes sought her daughter through the chaos, guilt compounding her physical pain. She had promised to be there tonight, had even laid out her only nice dress on the bed before the crushing fatigue and dizziness had overwhelmed her. Now, watching social services representatives conferring in hushed tones near her kitchen, she recognized a terrible truth. Her body was betraying not just her, but her daughter too. Jenna had been diagnosed with a degenerative condition affecting her pancreas and nervous system 2 years ago, shortly after her husband abandoned them for his pregnant secretary. The medical bills had forced her to sell their family home, moving them to this small apartment in a neighborhood where gunshots sometimes replaced lullabies. Her sister Victoria, who lived in a beautiful home across the city with her husband Sam, had been begging to take Tara temporarily while Jenna recovered. But Jenna had stubbornly refused, clinging to her role as mother despite her failing body. That night in the hospital, as Tara slept curled in an uncomfortable visitor's chair, Jenna made the heartbreaking decision. She would voluntarily sign temporary guardianship to Victoria, giving her daughter stability while she focused on her health. What she didn't know was that Victoria and Sam had been trying unsuccessfully to have children for years, and this arrangement would awaken emotions neither sister was prepared to confront. The hospital room was dimly lit, the rhythmic beeping of monitors providing an unwelcome soundtrack to Jenna's thoughts. She watched her daughter's chest rise and fall in peaceful sleep, unmarred by the anxieties that plagued her own mind. Tara's ballet bag sat propped against the chair, her tiny point shoes peeking out, a painful reminder of another milestone Jenna had missed. How many more would there be if she continued on this path? Dr. Levine entered quietly, his face grave as he reviewed her chart. "Another episode like this could cause permanent damage, Jenna," he said softly, mindful of the sleeping child. "Your condition is progressing faster than we anticipated. You need aggressive treatment and rest, neither of which is compatible with being a single parent right now." Jenna's eyes welled with tears. "But she needs me. She needs you alive." "And well," he countered gently, "sometimes being a good parent means making impossible choices." As dawn broke over the hospital windows, casting long shadows across the sterile room, Jenna reached for her phone. Her fingers hovered over Victoria's number, each moment of hesitation weighted with maternal guilt and fear. When she finally pressed call, her sister answered immediately, as if she'd been waiting all night for this moment. "It's time," Jenna whispered, her voice breaking. "Tara needs more than I can give her right now." If you are enjoying the story, type 5 in the comments and subscribe for more videos like this. If not, type 0. It helps me create even better content for you. Continuing. The temporary guardianship papers felt impossibly heavy in Jenna's hands as she signed them 3 days later. The family court mediator explained the terms with clinical detachment. Victoria and Sam would have legal responsibility for Tara's care, education, and medical decisions for 6 months, with an option to extend if necessary. Jenna would have supervised visits while she underwent intensive treatment. The arrangement could be dissolved once Jenna demonstrated stability in health, finances, and housing. Each signature felt like she was signing away pieces of her soul, but Jenna forced her hand to move across the document. Across the table, Victoria's expression shifted between concern for her sister and poorly concealed excitement about welcoming Tara into her home. Sam placed a supportive hand on his wife's shoulder, his wedding ring catching the fluorescent light of the conference room, a gold band that matched the one Jenna had pawned months ago to pay for Tara's school supplies. "This is temporary," Jenna insisted, her voice stronger than she felt. "Just until I get back on my feet." The social worker nodded non-committally. "Of course that's the intention, but we always prioritize what's best for the child in the long term." The implied threat hung in the air between them. If Jenna couldn't recover quickly enough, temporary could become permanent. The thought sent cold panic through her weakened body. Later that afternoon, Jenna watched Tara pack her favorite belongings into a small suitcase adorned with unicorns, a birthday gift from before the diagnosis. The child moved methodically around their apartment, selecting treasures with the solemn deliberation only children can maintain in moments of profound change. Her favorite stuffed rabbit with one ear, a seashell collection from their last family vacation, the framed photo of Jenna holding newborn Tara in the hospital. "Can I take your lavender sachet?" Tara asked, holding up the small cloth bag Jenna kept under her pillow. "So I can smell it when I miss you." Jenna nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. She helped fold Tara's clothes, tucking love notes between the layers. Handwritten messages for her daughter to discover in the coming days when Jenna wouldn't be there to say the words in person. "Aunt Victoria's house is really big," Jenna said, forcing brightness into her voice. "You'll have your own room with a window seat and there's a garden where you can play." Tara nodded solemnly. "Will you visit me every day?" "As often as the doctors let me, sweetheart, and we'll talk on the phone every night before bed. This is just for a little while until Mummy gets stronger." "Promise?" Tara's voice was small, her eyes wide with a child's desperate need for certainty in an increasingly uncertain world. "I promise," Jenna vowed, knowing even as she spoke that circumstances beyond her control might make her a liar. The actual separation unfolded like a scene from someone else's life, a melodrama Jenna was forced to both act in and witness. They stood on Victoria's elegant porch, surrounded by perfectly trimmed hedges and seasonal flowers. The contrast between this manicured sanctuary and their cramped apartment could not have been starker. Jenna knelt to Tara's level, tucking a strand of hair behind her daughter's ear. "Remember what we talked about. This is just temporary. I'll visit every weekend, and before you know it, we'll be back home together." Tara nodded bravely, though her chin trembled. When Victoria opened the front door, the glimpse of the grand foyer beyond, with its sweeping staircase and crystal chandelier, momentarily distracted the child. Sam appeared with offers of freshly baked cookies and a tour of the backyard playground they'd installed specifically for their niece. It was only when Jenna's taxi arrived that the reality crashed over both mother and daughter. Tara's composure shattered, her small body convulsing with sobs as she clung to Jenna's legs. "Don't go, Mommy. Please don't leave me." The child's desperate pleas cut through Jenna like physical blows. It took both Victoria and Sam to gently disentangle Tara's arms from around her mother. Jenna forced herself to walk to the waiting taxi, each step requiring more strength than her illness had left her. She didn't allow herself to look back until the car was pulling away, and the image of her daughter's tear-streaked face, pressed against Victoria's bay window, would haunt her dreams for months to come. The studio apartment near her treatment center felt less like a home and more like a holding cell. Jenna arranged her medical equipment around the fold-out couch that served as both seating and bed. Her laptop sat on a small desk where she would continue her remote work as a graphic designer between treatments, every earned penny saved for the day she could reclaim her daughter. That first night alone, Jenna allowed herself exactly 1 hour to fall apart. She sobbed into her pillow, still faintly scented with her daughter's strawberry shampoo, screaming her rage at her failing body, her absent husband, and the universe that had forced her to surrender the only thing that mattered. When the hour ended, she methodically washed her face, set up her medications for the following day, and made a list of goals for recovery. Taped to her bathroom mirror was the only motivation that mattered, a timeline for reunification with Tara. What Jenna couldn't have anticipated was how quickly her daughter would adapt to life in Victoria's world of privilege. Their first weekend visit, just 7 days after the separation, revealed subtle changes that sent alarm bells ringing through Jenna's consciousness. Tara arrived at the park where they had arranged to meet, wearing an outfit Jenna had never seen, clearly expensive, with a designer label visible on the jacket. Her daughter's hair was styled differently, and she carried a backpack from an exclusive children's boutique, rather than the worn unicorn bag she'd packed just a week earlier. More disturbing than these external changes was Tara's animated description of her new school, an elite private institution where her artistic talents had immediately been recognized. "Mrs. Peterson says I'm the most advanced artist in 3rd grade, Tara announced proudly, as they shared a bench by the playground. "She's giving me special projects while the other kids practice their basics." Jenna swallowed her complex emotions to smile encouragingly. "That's wonderful, sweetheart. I've always told you how talented you are. Aunt Victoria is going to frame my first painting for the dining room," Tara continued, swinging her legs. "Uncle Sam says it's better than some grown-up art they paid lots of money for." Each innocent comment landed like a slap, but Jenna maintained her supportive smile. When Tara mentioned horseback riding lessons and the children's symphony series Victoria had purchased season tickets for, Jenna felt herself fading into the background of her daughter's expanding world, a world filled with opportunities she could never provide. The visit ended too quickly, and Jenna fought tears as Sam's luxury SUV pulled into the parking lot. Tara hugged her fiercely before running to her uncle, chattering about a promised stop for ice cream on their way home. Jenna noticed her daughter hadn't asked when they might be reunited in their own apartment. Back in her studio that evening, Jenna attacked her treatment regimen with renewed determination. She doubled her physical therapy exercises meticulously, followed her restrictive diet, and researched experimental treatments not covered by her insurance. At night, she took on additional freelance design projects, working until her vision blurred and her hands cramped around her digital stylus. The following weeks established a painful pattern. Jenna would count days between visits with Tara, imagining their joyful reunion, only to discover another degree of separation had formed in her absence. First it was vocabulary, words like equestrian and cello concerto, replacing their old shared language of playground games and cartoon characters. Then it was preferences, Tara turning her nose up at the inexpensive candy Jenna brought, explaining that Aunt Victoria only bought organic treats. A major shock came 3 months into their arrangement, when Jenna arrived at Victoria's house for their scheduled visit, to find Tara's waist-length curls, hair that Jenna had lovingly brushed and braided every morning for years, shorn into a stylish bob that framed her face in a way that made her look unsettlingly older. "What happened to your hair?" Jenna asked, unable to keep the dismay from her voice. "Aunt Victoria took me to her salon," Tara explained, twirling to show off the cut. "Isn't it beautiful? The stylist said it brings out my cheekbones." "What? 8-year-old should be concerned with her cheekbones," Jenna wanted to scream. Instead, she waited until Tara was occupied with showing her latest art project to Sam before confronting her sister in the gleaming kitchen. "You had no right," Jenna hissed, keeping her voice low. "Her hair was not yours to cut." Victoria arranged expensive teacups on a tray with practiced elegance. "It was a tangled mess every morning, Jenna. Do you know how long it took to get her ready for school? Besides, all the girls in her class wear it this way. We didn't want her to feel different." "She is different. She's my daughter, not some doll for you to make over." "Lower your voice," Victoria cautioned, glancing toward the living room. "She's happy with it, and that's what matters. Besides, technically, The guardianship papers give us authority to make these decisions. The sisters glared at each other across the marble island, years of complicated history rising between them. Victoria had always been the responsible one, the achiever who turned their modest upbringing into a success story through strategic education and marriage. Jenna had been the creative free spirit, following her artistic passion into an unstable career and an even less stable relationship. Now those different choices were thrown into stark relief by their current circumstances. "This isn't what I agreed to," Jenna said finally. "I asked you to care for her, not reshape her into your idea of a perfect child." "No, you asked us to provide stability while you focus on recovery," Victoria countered. "That's exactly what we're doing." "How is your treatment progressing, by the way? Any timeline for when you'll be stable enough to resume full custody?" The pointed question hit its mark. Jenna's latest medical tests had shown frustratingly slow improvement, and her doctor had recommended extending the intensive treatment phase. Before she could respond, they heard Tara in the hallway and quickly composed themselves, but the child had caught enough of their tense exchange to understand something was wrong. That night, tucking Tara into her new canopy bed, a princess fantasy compared to her simple bunk back home, Jenna sensed her daughter's confusion. "Are you mad at Aunt Victoria?" Tara asked, clutching her one-eared rabbit. "No, sweetheart," Jenna lied. "Grown-ups just have disagreements sometimes." "Is it about my hair? I can grow it back if you want." The innocent offer nearly broke Jenna. "Your hair is beautiful, Tara. I was just surprised because I didn't know about it ahead of time." Tara was quiet for a moment, thinking with the startling clarity children sometimes possess. "If I lived with you, would I still get to go to my new school and take horseback riding?" The question revealed the impossible situation forming around them. "Probably not right away," Jenna admitted. "Those things are expensive, but we'd find other special activities." "Oh." The single syllable contained volumes of disappointment. "Aunt Victoria says I might get to join the youth orchestra next semester. My music teacher says I have a good ear." Another talent discovered and nurtured in Jenna's absence. Another opportunity she couldn't match. "That's wonderful," she managed to say, kissing her daughter's forehead. "I'm so proud of you." After Tara fell asleep, Jenna slipped out to the guest room where she would spend the night before returning to her treatments in the morning. Victoria was waiting in the hallway. "She overheard us," Jenna said unnecessarily. Her sister nodded. "She's perceptive and sensitive. She needs stability right now, Jenna, not conflict between the adults she depends on." "I know that," Jenna pressed her fingers to her temples, feeling a stress headache forming. "I just feel like I'm losing her a little more each time I see her." Victoria's expression softened slightly. "She talks about you constantly, you know. Asks when you're coming back. Keeps your picture by her bed. This isn't a competition." But they both knew it was becoming exactly that. Back at her treatment center, Jenna received unexpected news. An experimental medication was showing promise for her condition, potentially offering more significant improvement than her current protocol. The catch: her insurance classified it as investigational and refused coverage. The out-of-pocket cost was staggering, nearly 6 months' worth of her design income. Desperation drove her to take a second job designing wedding invitations at night. She worked between treatments, often sketching in the treatment chair while medication dripped into her veins. At home, she pushed herself until her hands cramped around her stylus, while pictures of Tara's new life accumulated on her refrigerator. Ballet recitals, science fairs, and holiday gatherings where Jenna featured only as a visitor when she could attend at all. To keep herself going, Jenna transformed her small studio into a sanctuary dedicated to her eventual reunion with Tara. She created a sleeping nook with a colorful canopy that rivaled the one in her daughter's room at Victoria's. She painted one wall with chalkboard paint for Tara to draw on and assembled a collection of art supplies superior to what they'd had before. Each addition was a promise. Come home, and this will be waiting for you. 5 months into their separation, during a weekend visit at Victoria's house, the second small twist arrived when Tara casually called Victoria Mom over breakfast. The word slipped out naturally as Tara asked for more orange juice. "Can I have more, Mum?" Then silence fell as all four people at the table froze, the implication of that simple word hanging heavy in the air. Tara's eyes widened in horror as she realized her mistake. She looked between the two sisters, panic rising in her expression. "I didn't mean," she started, then burst into tears and fled the table. Jenna found her daughter curled in her closet among the hanging rows of new clothes, sobbing with a despair too profound for her years. "I'm sorry, Mommy," Tara choked. Out as Jenna gathered her into her arms, "It was an accident." "I know, sweetheart," Jenna whispered, rocking her daughter while fighting her own tears. "It's okay. You're not in trouble." "I don't want Aunt Victoria to be my mum," Tara insisted, her small fingers clutching Jenna's sweater. "I want to come home with you." The simple declaration should have been comforting, but Jenna heard the undertone of a child's magical thinking, the belief that wanting something badly enough could make it happen, regardless of adult complications like medical treatments and financial realities. That evening, after Tara had been soothed and distracted with a movie, Jenna sat on the guest room bed staring at her reflection in the ornate mirror of Victoria's spare room. The contrast between her pallid complexion and her sister's healthy glow had never been more apparent. Her hair had thinned from treatments, her clothes hung loosely on her frame, and fatigue shadows permanently darkened her eyes. There was a soft knock, and Victoria entered with 2 steaming mugs of tea. She handed one to Jenna and perched cautiously on the edge of the bed. "I want you to know," she said carefully, "that I corrected her immediately after you left her room. I told her I'm Aunt Victoria, not Mom." Jenna nodded, warming her hands on the expensive porcelain mug. "She's confused. It's not her fault." "No, it's not." Victoria hesitated, then added, "But it's not anyone's fault, Jenna. Not mine for providing stability, and not yours for being ill." The reasonable statement only intensified Jenna's anguish. She would prefer someone to blame: her ex-husband, the insurance company, the doctors who couldn't cure her fast enough. Instead, she was left with a situation no one had chosen, but everyone had to navigate. "My treatment is showing improvement," Jenna said, changing the subject. "The new medication seems to be working. I've been talking with my doctor about reducing some of the restrictions soon." Victoria brightened. "That's wonderful news, though I hope you're not pushing yourself too hard. Recovery takes time." The genuine concern in her sister's voice made it impossible to maintain the anger Jenna had been nurturing. The painful truth was that Victoria truly cared for Tara and was providing opportunities that would shape her future in positive ways. "We need to start talking about transition plans," Jenna said, forcing herself to be practical. "Maybe increasing my time with Tara gradually, perhaps some weeknights at my place once I'm cleared for more activity." Victoria's expression shifted slightly, a flicker of something, reluctance, crossing her features before she nodded. "Of course, though, it might be best to wait until after the school semester ends. Tara has really found her rhythm academically, and disruption might set her back." The reasonable suggestion carried an undercurrent Jenna couldn't quite name, but before she could probe further, Sam appeared in the doorway to announce that Tara was asking for both of them to watch the movie's ending with her. The sisters joined Tara in Victoria's plush media room, settling on either side of the child on the sectional sofa. As the animated film reached its emotional climax, Tara leaned her head against Jenna's shoulder, while simultaneously reaching for Victoria's hand. The physical connection between the three of them felt like both a bridge and a chasm. 6 months into their arrangement, just as Jenna was preparing to discuss increasing her custody time, Victoria and Sam dropped a bombshell. They were planning to take Tara to Europe for the summer, a 3-week educational tour including London, Paris, and Rome, with emphasis on the museums and cultural experiences that aligned with Tara's blossoming artistic interests. "It's the opportunity of a lifetime," Victoria explained, showing Jenna the glossy brochure with images of the Louvre and Vatican museums. Her art teachers say exposure to the masters at her age could be transformative for her talent. They sat in Jenna's studio apartment, the contrast between her modest surroundings and the luxurious travel plans spread across her small coffee table, making Jenna acutely aware of her limitations. Tara was at a special weekend art camp, allowing the adults to speak freely. 3 weeks, Jenna repeated, the number feeling impossibly large. That's our entire summer visitation time. Sam leaned forward, his expression earnest. We could adjust the schedule for the fall, maybe add some long weekends to make up for it. And I'll make sure she calls you every day, Victoria added. We can do video chats from the different cities. It will be almost like you're there with us. Almost, the word echoed painfully. Almost a mother, almost recovered, almost enough. Do you really think I'd try to stand in the way of an opportunity like this? Jenna asked, hurt, coloring her. Of course she should go. I want everything for her. That's why we made this arrangement in the first place. Relief washed over Victoria's face. Thank you for understanding. We've already discussed it with the family court mediator, and they're supportive, as long as we maintain regular communication with you throughout the trip. The casual mention that they had consulted with the court before speaking with her sparked a flare of anger in Jenna, but she suppressed it. Arguing would only make her appear unreasonable, potentially damaging her case for increased custody once her health stabilized further. I'd like to help prepare her, Jenna said instead. Maybe I could research the museums with her, help her understand what she'll be seeing. That's a wonderful idea, Victoria agreed readily. Actually, we were hoping you might use your artistic background to create a special travel journal for her to document the experience. The request was both thoughtful and painful, acknowledging Jenna's talents, while simultaneously underlining that she would experience her daughter's transformative summer only through second-hand accounts. After they left, Jenna allowed herself exactly 10 minutes to cry before opening her laptop and ordering art supplies for Tara's travel journal. If she couldn't give her daughter Europe, she would make sure Tara had the perfect way to capture the memories. She spent the lonely evening researching the museums on the itinerary, creating child-friendly guides to the most significant works Tara would encounter. In the weeks before the Europe trip, Jenna poured her creative energy into redecorating the small second bedroom of her apartment that would become Tara's once she returned home permanently. She painted murals of Parisian streets and Roman fountains on the walls, installed floating bookshelves for Tara's growing collection of art books, and splurged on a proper easel with natural lighting designed for serious young artists. The financial strain of these improvements, combined with her ongoing medical expenses and the cost of the experimental medication, left Jenna's savings depleted. But the room stood ready, a statement of faith that their separation was temporary, and a declaration that she could provide artistic inspiration even without the resources for actual European travel. The night before Tara left for Europe, Jenna hosted a special Bon Voyage dinner in her apartment, the first time Tara had visited her new home. She watched anxiously as her daughter explored the space, holding her breath until Tara discovered the newly decorated bedroom. "This is for me," Tara gasped, spinning to take in the murals. "For when you come home," Jenna confirmed, savoring her daughter's delight. "And for visits before then, once the doctors give me clearance." Tara ran her fingers over the detailed painting of the Eiffel Tower. "It's like you've been to these places." "Just in books and films," Jenna admitted. "But soon you'll see them for real, and you can tell me everything." They spent the evening planning what souvenirs Tara might find for her mother and practicing basic phrases in French and Italian from a language app on Jenna's phone. For a few precious hours, it felt like before, just the two of them, laughing and dreaming together. When Victoria arrived to pick up Tara, the child hesitated at the door, looking back at the room prepared with such love and attention to detail. "I wish you could come with us," Tara said quietly. "Me too, sweetheart," Jenna replied, trying to keep her tone light. "But this is your adventure, and I'll be right here waiting to hear all about it when you get back." After Tara left, Jenna sat alone in the child's empty room, surrounded by painted landmarks her daughter would soon see in person. She felt a creeping sense of dread that no matter how magical she made this space, it might not compete with the actual magic of the wider world Victoria was introducing to Tara. That night, alone in her apartment, Jenna impulsively pulled out the delicate teacup Tara had given her for Mother's Day the previous year, before illness had upended their lives. She ran her fingers over the hand-painted flowers, remembering how proud Tara had been to save her allowance for it. Then, in a moment of raw emotional release, she hurled it against the wall, watching it shatter into jagged pieces. The sound of breaking porcelain temporarily satisfied something primal in her grief, but almost immediately, regret washed over her. She carefully gathered each fragment, then spent hours meticulously gluing the cup back together. The repaired vessel, with its visible seams and small missing chips, became a physical manifestation of her fragmented relationship with her daughter, broken but painstakingly preserved, never quite the same, but still treasured. The following days settled into a painful rhythm. Jenna threw herself into her treatment with renewed determination, badgering her doctors for timelines and concrete benchmarks. Meanwhile, her phone became her lifeline to Tara, lighting up with photos of her daughter posing before famous paintings and ancient ruins, each image accompanied by enthusiastic voice messages describing foods, languages, and cultural details Jenna had never experienced herself. She kept her responses uniformly positive and encouraging, asking thoughtful questions about the art Tara was seeing and sending pictures of her own continued improvements to the apartment. But each night, after their calls ended, the silence in her small space became overwhelming, a reminder of how peripheral she had become to her daughter's expanding world. The third small twist occurred when Tara returned from Europe speaking phrases in French and Italian, casually dropping references to museums and experiences that created a new communication barrier between mother and daughter. "Le Louvre était incroyable," Tara exclaimed during their reunion, then caught herself. "Sorry, the Louvre was amazing. I'm still thinking in French sometimes." Jenna smiled tightly. "That's wonderful, sweetheart. Your pronunciation sounds perfect. Aunt Victoria hired a tutor to practice with me before we left," Tara explained. "She says languages are easier to learn when you're young, and it's good for brain development." Another opportunity Jenna couldn't have provided. Another way her sister was shaping her daughter's future. By the end of their visit, Jenna felt like a tourist in her child's life, someone Tara had to translate experiences for, both literally and figuratively. 8 months into their separation, Jenna received unexpected news that shifted the landscape dramatically. Her condition had improved enough for her to reduce medications and expand her activities. While the underlying disease remained incurable, her doctor was cautiously optimistic about her ability to handle more normal daily responsibilities, including parenting with proper support systems in place. "These latest results are very encouraging," Dr. Levine told her during their appointment, reviewing her chart with genuine pleasure. "The experimental treatment is working better than we anticipated. Your pancreatic function has stabilized, and the nerve inflammation is significantly reduced." "Does this mean I can start the process to regain custody?" Jenna asked, hope flaring painfully bright. The doctor's expression turned cautious. "Medically speaking, you're making excellent progress toward being able to care for both yourself and your daughter. I'd recommend a gradual transition, starting with overnight visits and building from there. But yes, full reunification should be our goal over the next few months, assuming continued improvement." Armed with this medical validation, Jenna scheduled a meeting with the family court mediator, gathering documentation of her progress, stable work history, and the child-friendly improvements to her apartment. She felt more confident than she had in months as she prepared her case for increasing custody time with the goal of full reunification by Tara's next birthday. The court mediator reviewed her materials with professional detachment. "This is certainly promising, Ms. Reynolds," she acknowledged. "I'll need to schedule a home visit to evaluate the living environment. And of course, we'll need updated testimony from your medical team about your prognosis and capabilities." "Of course," Jenna agreed readily. "When can we begin scheduling?" "Overnight visits." "Well, there's a complication," the mediator said, shuffling through another file. "Your sister and brother-in-law have filed a petition of their own." "What kind of petition?" Jenna asked, though she already suspected the answer. "They're requesting an extension of the guardianship arrangement for another full year with reconsideration of permanent placement at that time." The room seemed to tilt around Jenna. "Permanent? That was never the agreement. This was always meant to be temporary." just until I recovered enough to care for Tara properly. I understand, the mediator said evenly. However, they've submitted documentation suggesting that the current arrangement is serving the child's best interests in terms of educational opportunities, extracurricular development, and emotional stability. They cite her thriving academic, performance, and artistic advancement as evidence. Of course she's thriving. They can afford to give her everything. Jenna fought to keep her voice steady. But I'm her mother. I'm recovering specifically to reunite with my daughter. Doesn't that count for anything? Biology is a factor, but not the only one the court considers, the mediator explained. Stability, consistency, and the child's best interests remain paramount. Jenna left the meeting in a state of cold shock. She had been so focused on her medical battle that she hadn't fully recognized the custody war being quietly waged around her. While she'd been saving her energy for treatments and weekend visits, Victoria and Sam had been building a case for permanency, documenting every award, every accomplishment, every way in which Tara flourished under their care. The confrontation with her sister became the first major turning point, where Tara's allegiances were openly tested. Jenna arrived at Victoria's house unannounced the following evening, waiting until Sam's car pulled into the driveway before approaching the door. She wanted both of them present for this conversation. "We need to talk," she said when Victoria opened the door, her voice tight with barely controlled anger. Victoria's welcoming smile faltered. "Jenna? We weren't expecting you tonight." Tara's, "Just finishing homework." "I know about the petition," Jenna said, stepping into the foyer without waiting for an invitation. "I know you're trying to keep her permanently." Sam emerged from his home office, alerted by the tension in their voices. "Let's take this conversation somewhere private," he suggested, glancing toward the staircase where Tara might appear at any moment. They moved to the formal living room, a space rarely used except for entertaining guests. Jenna remained standing, while Victoria and Sam sat together on the pristine sofa, a united front against her solitary figure. "It's not what you think," Victoria began. "We're not trying to steal Tara from you, we're trying to provide consistency." "By going behind my back to the court?" Jenna demanded. "By making me look like I'm fighting to disrupt her life, rather. Then rebuild it." Sam cleared his throat. "The educational opportunities here are exceptional, Jenna. Her private school has an advanced arts program that feeds directly into the best high schools in the city. Moving her now could derail her future." "Her future is with her mother," Jenna countered. "That was always the plan. I'm getting better, my doctors confirm it." "And we're thrilled about your improvement," Victoria said, her practiced diplomacy slipping into place. "But recovery isn't linear, is it? What happens if you have another setback? We're simply suggesting a more gradual transition with the court's oversight to ensure everyone's needs are considered." "Including your need to finally have a child?" Jenna's words struck like a physical blow. "Is that what this is about? You couldn't have your own, so you're taking mine?" Victoria flinched, color draining from her face. Sam moved protectively, closer to his wife, his expression hardening. "That's unfair," he said quietly. "We've devoted ourselves to Tara's well-being. Every decision has been about what's best for her." "What's best for her is her mother." Jenna's voice rose despite her efforts to control it. "I'm the one who held her when she had nightmares, who taught her to read, who encouraged her art when her father said it was a waste of time. And now we're the ones attending parent-teacher conferences, arranging play dates, and taking her to medical checkups," Victoria countered, regaining her composure. "We're the ones providing structure, while you focus on getting well. That was the agreement, Jenna. Temporary guardianship, not adoption, not replacement." "Nobody is replacing you," Sam insisted. "But the reality is that Tara has thrived here. Her teachers report significant academic and social growth. Her artistic talents are being professionally nurtured. These are facts the court will consider, regardless of your emotional appeals." Before Jenna could respond, a small voice from the doorway froze all three adults. "Why are you fighting about me?" Tara stood in her pajamas, clutching her one-eared rabbit. Her expression reflected both confusion and a terrible understanding beyond her years. Victoria recovered first. "We're not fighting, sweetheart. We're just having a grown-up discussion about schedules." "You're talking about where I'm going to live," Tara said with heartbreaking clarity. "I heard you." Jenna moved toward her daughter, kneeling to meet her eyes. "Yes, we are. Because I'm getting better, and soon we might be able to live together again, like we planned." Tara's gaze shifted between the three adults. "But what about my school and my friends and my art classes?" The innocent questions revealed how effectively Tara had been integrated into Victoria's world. Jenna felt another piece of her heart crack. "We'll figure all that out," she promised, though she had no concrete answers. "The important thing is that we'll be together." "But I like it here too," Tara said, her voice small. "I don't want anyone to be sad." Victoria approached carefully, placing a gentle hand on Tara's shoulder. "No one expects you to choose, Tara. That's not your responsibility." But the tension in the room told a different story. In that moment, watching her daughter's distress, Jenna recognized that this confrontation had been a mistake. She was forcing Tara to witness the conflict, rather than protecting her from it. "Your aunt is right," Jenna said, swallowing her anger and fear. "This isn't something you need to worry about. I'm sorry we upset you." Later, after tucking Tara into bed with promises that the adults would work things out, Jenna and Victoria sat at the kitchen island while Sam tactfully retreated to his office again. "You should have talked to me first," Jenna said, exhaustion replacing rage. "Before going to the court?" Victoria nodded, surprising Jenna with the concession. "You're right, I handled it poorly. But I truly believe a gradual transition is better for Tara than an abrupt change." "She's my daughter, Victoria." "I know." Her sister reached across the counter, not quite touching Jenna's hand. "And nothing will change that. But she's also become part of our family in ways none of us anticipated. Sam and I love her like our own." "Because she's the child you couldn't have," Jenna said, the cruel observation slipping out despite her attempts at restraint. Pain flashed across Victoria's face. "That's not fair. We tried for years. Fertility treatments, specialists, experimental procedures. Do you know what it's like to want something so desperately and have your body fail you?" The irony of the question hung between them. Of course, Jenna knew exactly what that felt like. "I'm sorry," Jenna said finally. "That was a low blow. But you need to understand. I gave Tara to you temporarily because I trusted you to give her back. Now you're making me fight for her, and that will hurt her more than anything." "What if we find a compromise?" Victoria suggested. "Something. That doesn't require a legal battle." They spent the next hour outlining possibilities, shared custody arrangements, gradual transitions, ways to maintain Tara's educational opportunities while increasing her time with Jenna. Nothing felt perfect, but it was a starting point that didn't involve courtrooms and testimonies. As Jenna prepared to leave, Victoria walked her to the door. "We'll withdraw the petition for extended guardianship," she promised, "but please consider what's best for Tara's stability before pushing for immediate full custody." Jenna nodded, too emotionally drained for further negotiation. "I've never wanted anything but what's best for her. That's why I made the hardest choice of my life 8 months ago." The tenuous truce established that night was tested just 2 weeks later, when a second medium twist emerged. Sam lost his executive position following a company restructuring. The family's financial security suddenly threatened. Victoria became even more determined to maintain custody of Tara, viewing her as the daughter fate had finally provided. The news came to Jenna through Tara herself during a weekend visit, the child innocently mentioning that "Uncle Sam is home all the time now, and Aunt Victoria says we need to be extra nice to him because he's sad about his job." Jenna called her sister that evening after Tara fell asleep. "Why didn't you tell me about Sam's job?" she asked without preamble. Victoria sighed audibly through the phone. "It's recent, and we're still figuring out next steps. I didn't want to concern you." "It affects Tara, which means it concerns me," Jenna countered. "What does this mean for the custody arrangement we discussed?" "Nothing changes," Victoria said firmly. "We have savings, and Sam is already interviewing. Tara's education and activities are budgeted for regardless." But Jenna heard the strain beneath the confidence, and later conversations with Tara revealed small changes in the household: fewer restaurant meals, discussions about spending priorities, a suddenly cancelled trip to a prestigious summer art camp that had been previously promised. Victoria began subtly undermining Jenna during visits, emphasizing the uncertainties of Isabella's health and housing compared to their stability, despite their recent financial setback. She highlighted the consistency they provided Tara despite challenges, implying that Jenna's recovery might prove similarly vulnerable to unexpected reversal. Tara needs certainty right now, Victoria reminded Jenna repeatedly. Children thrive on routine, especially artistically gifted ones like her. Disruption can stifle creative development. As the one-year mark of their separation approached, the third medium twist emerged. Tara's art teacher recognized extraordinary talent in the girl and recommended her for a prestigious youth program that would conflict with Jenna's visitation schedule. The program required commitment to Saturday workshops, the very day Jenna traditionally spent with her daughter each week. "It's such an incredible opportunity," Victoria told Jenna, forwarding the formal invitation letter. Only 20 children in the city were selected. The program director specifically mentioned Tara's unusual perspective and technical ability. Jenna read the email on her laptop, pride and resentment battling within her. The program was indeed prestigious, exactly the kind of specialized training that could nurture her daughter's innate abilities. But accepting meant surrendering their precious Saturday visits, further reducing Jenna's already limited time with her child. "When does it start?" she asked, stalling her decision. 2 weeks from now. They need confirmation by Friday." Another impossible choice had been placed before her: support her daughter's talent or maintain their already fragile connection. As Jenna contemplated her response, she realized with painful clarity that this was the pattern of their separation. Each step forward for Tara potentially meant a step away from their reunion. When Tara called that evening, bubbling with excitement about the program invitation, Jenna knew there was only one acceptable answer. "Of course you should do it, sweetheart," she said, keeping her voice light and encouraging. "We can arrange our visits for Sundays instead." "Really?" Tara sounded both delighted and relieved. "I wasn't sure you'd say yes because of our special Saturdays." "Your art is important," Jenna told her. "I would never stand in the way of something that matters so much to you." The conversation left Jenna feeling both noble and hollowed out. She was making the right parental choice, yet each such sacrifice seemed to erode her position in her daughter's life. Sunday visits would mean shorter hours due to Monday school preparations, which meant less quality time, which meant a more peripheral role in Tara's weekly routine. A week later, the second major twist arrived, when Jenna discovered through medical records that her condition was partially genetic and could potentially affect Tara later in life. Her doctor had ordered expanded genetic testing as part of her ongoing treatment, and the results revealed markers that Tara had a significant chance of inheriting. "It doesn't mean she'll develop the same condition," Dr. Levine explained during their consultation. "But there's an elevated risk. We should consider screening Tara and establishing baseline health metrics for monitoring." The information hit Jenna like a physical blow. Not only had she surrendered her daughter temporarily, but she might have passed on the very disease that caused their separation. The guilt was overwhelming. Victoria and Robert, upon learning this through the family court mediator, whom Jenna had responsibly informed of the medical development, used the information to strengthen their case for permanent custody, arguing they were better equipped financially to handle any future medical needs Tara might develop. "We've already researched preventative measures and specialists," Victoria told the mediator during a joint session. "Our insurance covers comprehensive genetic counseling, and we've established a health savings account specifically for Tara's potential future needs." Jenna's throat tightened at the implication. "I would do the same if I had the resources, but my focus right now is on understanding what this means for Tara's immediate health." "Precisely our point," Sam interjected. "Jenna is understandably preoccupied with her own health journey. We can dedicate ourselves fully to Tara's preventative care without that distraction." The statement was both reasonable and devastating. Jenna could hardly argue against comprehensive medical support for her daughter, yet each practical advantage Victoria and Sam presented pushed the possibility of reunification further away. As the adults battled over her future, Tara's emotional health visibly deteriorated. Her artwork, once filled with vibrant colors and joyful subjects, darkened considerably. The paintings she brought home from school featured fragmented houses, split human figures, and ominous shadows. Her once confident brushstrokes became jagged and uncertain. Tara's teacher contacted both households with concerns about the child's withdrawal from social interactions and increasing anxiety before tests or performances. When questioned gently about her feelings, Tara would insist everything was fine, but her nightmares increased, and she began carrying her one-eared rabbit to school, despite being teased by classmates about being too old for stuffed animals. A school counselor recommended therapy, adding another expert opinion to the legal proceedings that now loomed over all their lives. The counselor's initial assessment was diplomatic but pointed. Tara is experiencing significant stress related to uncertainty about her family structure. She expresses fear of disappointing both maternal figures and concerns about choosing sides. The report landed with the impact of a grenade in both households. For the first time, all three adults were forced to confront the psychological cost of their ongoing conflict. The counselor recommended joint sessions for the adults to establish unified messaging for Tara, emphasizing that their inability to communicate constructively was exacerbating her anxiety. The first joint therapy session was uncomfortable but revelatory. The counselor, Dr. Martinez, created a structured environment where each adult could express concerns without interruption or accusation. "What I'm hearing," she summarized after their individual statements, "is that everyone in this room loves Tara deeply and wants what's best for her. That common ground is valuable, even if you disagree on the specifics." "The problem isn't love," Jenna said, frustration evident in her voice. "It's the imbalance of resources. If I had Victoria and Sam's financial advantages, there would be no question about my ability to provide for Tara's needs." "That's unfair," Victoria protested. "You're reducing our relationship with Tara to money when we've invested our hearts and time in her well-being." Dr. Martinez raised a hand to pause the escalating tension. "Perhaps we should focus on what Tara herself has expressed. According to my notes, she feels torn between two homes she values and adults she loves. She doesn't want to lose either household." The observation silenced both sisters. Sam, who had been largely quiet during the exchange, finally spoke. "What if we're approaching this all wrong?" he suggested. "What if instead of fighting over where Tara belongs, we find a way to make her feel she belongs in both places?" The fourth medium twist introduced another perspective when Jenna's former mother-in-law unexpectedly returned from retirement abroad, offering both financial support and a chance for reconciliation. Elaine Reynolds had moved to Portugal after her son's divorce from Jenna, maintaining minimal contact with her former daughter-in-law and granddaughter. Her sudden reappearance in their lives came as a complete surprise. "I've made terrible mistakes," the elegant older woman admitted, sitting across from Jenna in a cafe near her treatment center. "When David left you, I took his side without question. It was easier than acknowledging my son's selfishness." Jenna regarded her former mother-in-law warily. "Why come back now?" "I received a letter from Tara," Elaine explained, pulling a carefully folded paper from her purse. "Apparently, Victoria helped her find my address. My granddaughter wrote about her two homes and how confused she feels. She asked if I had two homes when I was little." The revelation that Tara had reached out to her absent grandmother without telling Jenna stung, but she focused on the more immediate question. "What do you want, Elaine?" "To help," the older woman said simply. "I've sold my home in Portugal and purchased a small house here, halfway between your apartment and Victoria's home. I'd like to be a neutral space for Tara, and I'd like to offer financial support for your treatment and housing needs." This unexpected ally gave Jenna hope, but Tara's trust had been damaged by so many adults entering and leaving her life. During their first reunion, Tara was polite but reserved with the grandmother she barely remembered, answering questions with minimal words and declining offers to see the new house Elaine had purchased. "Give her time," Jenna advised her former mother-in-law after this awkward visit. "She's learned to be cautious with her emotions." "Like her mother," Elaine observed with a sad smile. Jenna, I want you to know, I've spoken with my financial advisor about establishing a trust for both you and Tara. It would cover your ongoing medical needs and create an educational fund for her future. The offer was generous beyond anything Jenna had anticipated, potentially leveling the playing field between her and Victoria in terms of what they could provide Tara. Yet she hesitated, aware that accepting meant forming another complicated bond in an already tangled family web. I need to think about it, she told Elaine, and discuss it with Victoria. We're trying to make decisions collectively now. The legal proceedings for permanent custody became increasingly contentious despite the joint therapy sessions. Victoria presented evidence of Jenna's ongoing medical vulnerabilities, while Jenna demonstrated her improved circumstances and unwavering commitment. Tara, now nearly 10, was interviewed by court officials, her testimony sealed from both parties. The tension culminated in the third major twist that shattered everyone's expectations. Tara ran away the night before the final custody hearing, leaving behind a journal filled with painful entries about feeling like property rather than a person. The discovery of her empty bed at Victoria's house triggered an immediate police response and frantic searching by both families. "When did you last check on her?" Jenna demanded, pacing Victoria's immaculate living room while police officers gathered information in the kitchen. "Around 9, Victoria answered, her usual composure completely shattered. She was reading in bed. We talked about her outfit for the court appearance tomorrow. She seemed quiet, but not unusually so." The officer in charge approached with Tara's journal, which they'd found open on her bed. "Ma'am, I think you should see this. It might help us understand where she went." The entry, dated that day, read in neat, childish handwriting. "Everyone keeps asking what I want, but nobody listens when I say it. Mom wants me home with her. Aunt Victoria and Uncle Sam want me to stay with them. Grandma Elaine wants to see me more. Tomorrow the judge will decide like I'm a prize for whoever wins. I'm not a prize, I'm me. I remember when things were simple, and I just belonged somewhere." The raw pain in those words united the fractured family in immediate action. The police established a search perimeter, while Sam organized neighbors into search parties. Jenna and Victoria, momentarily setting aside their conflict, tried to think like Tara. Where would she go if she wanted to feel safe? Jenna wondered, aloud. Someplace that feels like it's just hers. The answer came to Victoria first. "The playground near your old apartment. She mentioned it last week. Said she missed the rusty swings and the faded hopscotch squares where you used to take her before you got sick." Jenna nodded, memories flooding back. "The one with the red slide and the broken merry-go-round. We used to go there every Sunday before." They didn't wait for the police, driving together to the small neglected playground tucked between aging apartment buildings, and there, huddled on a swing in the darkness, was Tara, a small figure with her one-eared rabbit clutched against her chest. Both women approached slowly, afraid of frightening her away. Tara looked up at their footsteps, her face tear-streaked but surprisingly calm. "I knew you'd find me," she said simply. "Mom always said this was our special place." Jenna knelt before her daughter, restraining herself from grabbing Tara into a fierce hug. "We were so worried, sweetheart. Everyone is looking for you." "I'm sorry," Tara said, though her expression remained resolute. "But I needed you to listen to me, not the judge." Victoria joined them, sinking onto the adjacent swing. "We're listening now, Tara. Tell us what you need." There, among rusted swings and faded hopscotch squares, Tara delivered her ultimatum. She would no longer be a prize to be won. With the clarity that sometimes comes to children when adults are lost in complication, she outlined what she wanted: to continue her special school and art program while living part-time with each family, to never again hear the adults in her life argue about where she belonged, and to have her feelings counted in every decision. "I love both of you," she told them, looking between her mother and aunt. "Why can't I have both? Why does someone have to lose?" The simplicity of her question cut through months of legal maneuvering and adult agenda. Jenna and Victoria exchanged glances over Tara's head, a moment of silent reckoning passing between them. "You're right," Jenna said finally. We've been so focused on fighting for you that we forgot to fight for what you need. This crisis forced both women to examine their motivations. Jenna realized her determination to reclaim Tara partly stemmed from her own abandonment by her husband, while Victoria confronted her attempt to fill her childlessness with her niece. Together, they developed a truly collaborative arrangement, where Tara would legally remain with Victoria during the school year due to proximity to her school and special programs, while spending extended time with Jenna during breaks. More importantly, they committed to regular family dinners involving both households, joint attendance at Tara's events, and transparent communication about all decisions affecting her life. Elaine's unexpected support provided resources that helped equalize the material aspects of both homes, allowing Jenna to move to a more suitable apartment closer to Victoria's neighborhood. The resolution came 15 months after that first ambulance ride, as Tara performed in a prestigious youth art exhibition, her canvas depicting two houses connected by a bridge. As audiences admired her talent, she explained her inspiration. "I have two homes and two mothers who taught me different kinds of strength." The painting, awarded first place in her age category, became the symbolic centerpiece of their new family arrangement, a visual reminder that connection was more important than ownership. "I never thought we'd end up here," Victoria admitted to Jenna as they stood together, watching Tara accept congratulations from her art teacher. "I was so certain I knew what was best for her." "We both were," Jenna replied, her voice free from the bitterness that had colored it for months. "Maybe what she needed most was to teach us how to listen." The epilogue, occurring 3 months later, reveals Tara helping Jenna move into a small house in Victoria's neighborhood, purchased with her former mother-in-law's assistance. As they unpack, Tara presents Jenna with a painting, a portrait of Jenna from memory created during their separation. "You never left me," Tara whispers. "I carried you everywhere, even when I was angry or confused. You let me go so I could grow, but you're still my first home." The portrait captured Jenna not as she appeared at her sickest, thin and pale with medication-thinned hair, but as the strong, vibrant mother from before their separation. Yet somehow, the image also contained subtle elements of her current self, as if Tara had painted not just the mother she remembered, but the one she always saw beneath the illness. "This is how I see you," Tara explained, watching her mother's tears fall. "Not sick or sad, just my mom." Jenna pulled her daughter into a fierce embrace, inhaling the scent of her hair, different shampoo now, but still essentially Tara. "I was so afraid you'd forget me or replace me." "Never," Tara promised. "I just made room for more people to love." That evening, they hosted a housewarming dinner in Jenna's new home. Victoria brought her famous lasagna, Sam grilled vegetables on the small patio, and Elaine arrived with an antique painting set she'd found in a specialty store for Tara. They ate at a table that stretched through the modest dining room, laughing and talking over each other in the comfortable chaos of family. As Jenna looked around at these people who had moved from adversaries to allies, she recognized the extraordinary gift hidden within her greatest trial. Her illness, which had threatened to separate her permanently from her daughter, had instead expanded their definition of family. Tara now moved confidently between households, bringing pieces of each into the other, Victoria's organizational habits into Jenna's creative chaos, Jenna's artistic perspectives into Victoria's structured environment. The story concludes with the 3 women creating new traditions and boundaries, their complicated love for Tara ultimately healing rather than dividing them. Isabella's sacrifice, temporarily surrendering her daughter to give her stability, resulted not in loss, but in an expanded family capable of providing Tara with both roots and wings. As they cleared dishes together, Jenna and Victoria found themselves alone in the kitchen, the sounds of Tara playing chess with Sam and Elaine drifting in from the living room. "I never thanked you," Jenna said quietly, rinsing a plate. Victoria looked up in surprise. "For what?" "For loving her as much as I do, for giving her everything I couldn't during my worst times." "She made it easy," Victoria admitted. "From the first day, She brought something into our home that had been missing. I'm sorry I tried to keep her all to myself. Jenna passed her sister a dripping plate. We're both stubborn. Always have been. Must run in the family, Victoria said with a small smile. Have you seen Tara when she gets an idea for a painting? Nothing can distract her. They laughed together, the sound blending with the comfortable family noise from the next room, the soundtrack of their new shared life. Through the kitchen window, Jenna could see both houses on the street, her modest new home and Victoria's larger one just 5 doors down. Between them was the path Tara would travel, carrying art supplies and stories and love from one threshold to the other. The illness that had nearly destroyed her family had, in its painful way, expanded it instead. By letting her daughter go when she couldn't provide what Tara needed, Jenna had ultimately gained something more precious than exclusive custody, a genuine village of support for both of them, bound by love for a child wise enough to demand. They all do better. Congratulations, type 9 in the comments so that I know you stayed until the end with me. Thank you for watching, and until tomorrow's story on this same channel.